My brother inherited $82 million. The entire family celebrated. My parents threw him a massive party. Champagne flowed. Friends and relatives packed the ballroom. Everyone lined up to congratulate Tyler. Everyone except me. I stood quietly near the back of the room, watching the celebration unfold. To everyone there, Tyler was the winner. The chosen son. The golden child. The grandson who had supposedly inherited Grandpa Walter's fortune. What nobody knew was that Grandpa's attorney had asked me to stay after the party. What nobody knew was that Grandpa had left me something worth far more than $82 million. And what nobody knew was that their entire world was about to be turned upside down. My name is Ethan Carter. I'm 33 years old. And if you looked at my family from the outside, you'd think we had everything. You'd think we were successful. You'd think we were close. You'd think we loved each other. The truth was very different. Growing up, Tyler was always my parents' favorite. Always. When Tyler brought home average grades, my parents celebrated. When I earned straight A's, they asked why I wasn't ranked first in my class. When Tyler wanted a new car, he got one. When I needed money for college applications, I was told to get a job. Everything in our house revolved around Tyler. Every holiday. Every birthday. Every family gathering. My father, Richard Carter, never even tried to hide it. Tyler has leadership qualities. Tyler is special. Tyler is going places. I heard those phrases my entire life. Meanwhile, I was treated like an afterthought. The funny thing was, Tyler wasn't smarter. He wasn't more hardworking. He wasn't more talented. He was simply the favorite. My mother adored him. My father bragged about him. And Tyler learned very early that he could get away with almost anything. By 16, he was entitled. By 18, he was unbearable. And by 25, he had become exactly the kind of man people smiled at in public and complained about in private. The only person who ever treated me fairly was my grandfather. Walter Carter. Founder of Carter Industries. A man who built an empire from nothing. Grandpa understood people. He noticed things others missed. Most importantly, he saw exactly how my parents treated me. One summer evening when I was 17, we sat together on the dock of his lake house. The sun was setting across the water. I remember feeling defeated. Tyler had just received another expensive gift from my parents. A brand new sports car. Meanwhile, I had spent the previous year working after school just to save enough money for college. Grandpa looked at me quietly. "You look frustrated." I laughed. "That's one way to put it." He nodded. Then he said something that changed my life. "Ethan, stop trying to win a game that's rigged." I looked at him. "What does that mean?" "It means you're wasting your energy trying to earn approval from people who already made their choice." His words hit me harder than he realized. Because deep down, I knew he was right. No matter what I did, it would never be enough. Not for my parents. Not for Tyler. Not for anyone who had already decided who mattered. So that day, I stopped chasing approval. And started building my own future. Little did I know, Grandpa was watching everything. After college, Tyler and I took completely different paths. Tyler spent money. I invested it. Tyler partied. I worked. Tyler filled social media with pictures of luxury vacations. I spent my nights learning how businesses actually operated. Over the next decade, our lives moved further and further apart. Every family gathering felt exactly the same. Tyler bragged. My parents praised him. And I sat quietly in the background. The strange thing was that nobody ever asked what I was doing. Not once. Nobody asked about my investments. Nobody asked about my consulting company. Nobody asked about the small businesses I was quietly acquiring. They simply assumed Tyler was the success story. And I let them believe it. Because proving people wrong is far more satisfying when they never see it coming. Meanwhile, Grandpa and I grew closer. Every month, we met for lunch. We talked about business, leadership, investing, human nature. He taught me lessons no university ever could. One afternoon, he asked me a question. If you suddenly had unlimited money, what would you do? I thought about it for a moment. Then answered honestly. I'd build things. Grandpa smiled. Good answer. A week later, he asked Tyler the exact same question. Tyler's response. A yacht would be a good start. Grandpa never forgot that. Neither did I. As Grandpa got older, his health began to decline. Suddenly, the family became very interested in spending time with him. Especially Tyler. Especially my parents. The visits felt forced. Manufactured. Strategic. Like they were campaigning for an election. Grandpa noticed too. One evening, after another awkward family dinner, he looked at me and laughed. They think I don't see what's happening. What's happening? They're positioning themselves. I smiled. Does it bother you? No. He took a sip of coffee. It reveals character. 6 months later, Grandpa passed away peacefully in his sleep. The news devastated me. For the first time in years, I felt truly alone. The funeral was enormous. Business leaders. Politicians. Executives. Thousands of people whose lives had been touched by him. Yet somehow, my family treated the entire event like a financial waiting room. Everyone wanted the same thing. Answers. Who gets what? Who inherits what? Who controls the empire? The answer came 2 weeks later. And that was the day everything changed. The family gathered inside the conference room of Carter Industries headquarters. The atmosphere felt tense. Almost electric. My father sat at the head of the table. My mother sat beside him. Tyler looked unusually confident. Almost excited. Like a man who already believed he had won. The attorney entered carrying several folders. Everyone immediately became quiet. He adjusted his glasses. Opened the first document. And began reading. For nearly an hour, assets were distributed. Properties. Investments. Trust funds. Art collections. Charitable foundations. Millions upon millions of dollars. Most family members seemed satisfied. Then the attorney reached the final section. The room became noticeably quieter. Because everyone knew what remained. The controlling ownership stake. The heart of Grandpa's fortune. The peace everyone wanted. The attorney cleared his throat. Then looked directly at Tyler. A smile immediately spread across my brother's face. My parents looked proud. The attorney began reading. To my grandson, Tyler Carter. Tyler straightened in his chair. My father smiled. My mother looked ready to cry. The attorney continued. I leave the sum of $82 million. The room erupted. Gasps. Whispers. Congratulations. Tyler looked stunned. Then victorious. Exactly as everyone expected. My father shook his hand. My mother hugged him. Relatives surrounded him. Champagne appeared. People celebrated. And for the next 2 hours, everyone treated Tyler like he had just conquered the world. Meanwhile, I stood quietly near the back of the room. Watching. Listening. Waiting. Because one thing kept bothering me. The attorney never finished. Not really. Eventually, the celebration began winding down. Guests started leaving. The ballroom slowly emptied. Then the attorney approached me. "Mr. Carter." I looked up. "Yes." He handed me a sealed envelope. "My instructions were to give this to you after everyone left." My heart started racing. "What is this?" "A personal letter from your grandfather." Then he lowered his voice. "And there's one more thing." I frowned. "What?" The attorney smiled. "The real inheritance meeting starts in 10 minutes. For the first time that entire day, I was the one caught off guard. The reading of the will took place inside a private conference room in downtown Dallas. Present were my parents, Tyler, several attorneys, and me. The atmosphere felt tense. Tyler looked excited. My father looked confident. My mother looked impatient. The attorney finally began. Several charitable donations were announced first. Then property distributions. Then investment accounts. Finally, the attorney cleared his throat. "The sum of $82 million is hereby transferred to Tyler Carter." Tyler practically jumped out of his seat. My mother burst into tears. My father grinned like he had just won the lottery. The celebration started immediately. Tyler shook hands. Accepted congratulations. Acted like he had personally earned every dollar. Meanwhile, I sat quietly. Because the attorney wasn't finished. After several minutes, he looked directly at me. "Mr. Ethan Carter, there is an additional inheritance." The room became silent. Tyler rolled his eyes. My father looked annoyed. The attorney continued. "Mr. Walter Carter has transferred controlling ownership of Carter Holdings to Ethan Carter." Nobody reacted. At first. Because nobody understood what that meant. Then the attorney explained. "The estimated value of Carter Holdings currently exceeds $500 million. Silence. Complete silence. I still remember Tyler's expression. It looked like someone had unplugged his brain. My father blinked repeatedly. My mother looked confused. Then shocked. Then terrified. The attorney wasn't done. Furthermore, Mr. Ethan Carter has been designated executive chairman with full voting authority. Tyler finally spoke. "What?" The attorney repeated himself. "You do not control the company." Tyler stared at me. "You got the company?" "Apparently." My father looked pale. $500 million. The attorney nodded. The room exploded. Tyler stood up. "This is ridiculous." My mother started crying. My father demanded answers. The attorney simply handed over a sealed envelope. It was from Grandpa. Addressed to me. My hands trembled slightly as I opened it. Inside were only a few paragraphs. But they changed everything. "Ethan. Money can be spent. Companies can be built. I gave Tyler wealth. I gave you responsibility. One requires luck. The other requires character. You've spent your life building. Now continue what I started. I'm proud of you, Grandpa. I read it twice. Then folded it carefully. Across the table, Tyler looked furious. And for the first time in my life, the golden child wasn't winning. The meeting should have ended there. It didn't. Tyler slammed both hands onto the table. This is insane. Nobody responded. He pointed at me. He doesn't deserve that company. The attorneys remained silent. My father finally spoke. Walter must have made a mistake. A mistake. $500 million. An entire corporate empire. According to my father, Grandpa had simply made a mistake. The attorney adjusted his glasses. No mistake was made. My mother shook her head. There's no way. The attorney opened another folder. There is additional documentation. The room became quiet again. He removed several pages. These instructions were updated 3 separate times over the last 4 years. That hit hard. Because it meant Grandpa hadn't made a last-minute emotional decision. This was deliberate. Planned. Reconfirmed. Again and again. The attorney continued. Mr. Walter Carter specifically reviewed and approved these changes personally. Tyler looked like he was about to explode. My father looked sick. And suddenly, everything started making sense. The monthly lunches. The business conversations. The questions. Grandpa had been evaluating us the entire time. Not testing our intelligence. Testing our character. And Tyler had failed. Badly. The attorney wasn't finished. There is one final document. The room froze. He slid another envelope toward me. What is this? A private memorandum. From Grandpa? Yes. I opened it carefully. Inside was a single page. Only one sentence had been highlighted. I read it silently. Then read it again. Never confuse being loved with being trusted. The words hit me like a truck. Because Grandpa had loved Tyler. Everyone knew that. But trust? Trust was different. Trust determined who carried responsibility. Trust determined who protected what mattered. Trust determined who inherited the future. I looked across the room. Tyler sat motionless. My father stared at the table. My mother quietly cried. For the first time in their lives. Money hadn't solved the problem. Because this wasn't about money anymore. It was about what Grandpa believed. And his final decision was impossible to argue with. The company. The employees. The legacy. The future. He trusted me. Not Tyler. And everyone in that room knew exactly why. The months that followed were pure chaos. Tyler immediately started spending. Luxury homes. Exotic cars. Private jets. Parties. Designer watches. Exactly what everyone expected. Meanwhile, I went to work. I met with executives. Reviewed operations. Expanded divisions. Acquired new companies. Opened new markets. Focused on growth. Within 3 years, Carter Holdings grew from $500 million to nearly $900 million. The difference between Tyler and me became impossible to ignore. My parents suddenly started calling. A lot. At first, the conversations seemed innocent. Then came the requests. Then came the expectations. Then came the demands. One evening, my father called. "We need to talk." I already knew where this was heading. When I arrived at their house, Tyler was there too. He looked stressed. Very stressed. Turns out $82 million disappears surprisingly fast when you're irresponsible. Failed investments. Luxury spending. Bad business deals. Terrible advice. And a complete refusal to learn from mistakes. Most of the money was gone. Then came the request. My father leaned forward. "You need to help your brother." I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was predictable. "Help him how?" "A loan." "How much?" Tyler answered. $20 million. I nearly choked on my coffee. $20 million. He said it as casually as if you were asking for $20. I looked around the room. Nobody seemed embarrassed. Nobody seemed ashamed. They genuinely expected me to save him. The same family that ignored me. The same family that worshipped him. The same family that spent decades telling me I wasn't enough. Now they needed me. And suddenly, I mattered. I stood slowly. My father frowned. "Ethan." I smiled politely. Then delivered the sentence I had waited years to say. "No." Silence. Absolute silence. Tyler exploded. My mother burst into tears. My father immediately became furious. But I simply walked toward the door. Before leaving, I stopped. Turned around. And looked at all three of them. "You spent your entire lives betting on the wrong son." Nobody said a word. Because deep down, they knew it was true. I walked out. And this time, nobody followed me. That was 3 years ago. Today, Carter Holdings is worth well over $1 billion. We employ thousands of people. Operate across multiple industries. And continue growing every year. Tyler still blames everyone else. My parents still struggle to accept responsibility. And me? I sleep just fine. Because Grandpa was right. Money can be spent. Fortunes can disappear. Titles can be lost. But character lasts. Character determines who builds. And who destroys. Who leads. And who follows. Who earns trust. And who wastes it. For most of my life, I thought success meant proving my family wrong. Eventually, I realized something. Success isn't revenge. Success is freedom. Freedom from their approval. Freedom from their expectations. Freedom from their opinions. The people who overlooked me eventually saw my value. The people who underestimated me eventually learned the truth. The people who chose someone else eventually faced the consequences. But none of that was what made me happy. What made me happy was knowing that Grandpa had been right all along. I never needed their approval. I never needed their validation. And I certainly never needed their permission. Because the moment I stopped trying to earn my place was the moment I finally found it. And that was worth far more than $82 million.